I was between surgeries when my phone buzzed with notifications. Exhausted after a 16-hour shift, I almost ignored them. Instead, I opened Instagram during my 5-minute break and felt my world tilt sideways. There was my cousin Olivia, standing in my custom-designed kitchen, holding a sledgehammer. The caption read, "Demolition Day. So blessed that God and family gave us this amazing forever home. Hashtag beach life, hashtag blessed, hashtag new beginnings." My hands shook as I scrolled through her feed. Photo after photo of my $2.8 million Malibu beach house. My reward to myself after inheriting my grandfather's estate and investing wisely, being gutted and redesigned. "Dr. Bennett." A nurse poked her head into the break room. "Your next patient's prepped." "Coming." I locked my phone, pushing down the rage threatening to overwhelm me. I had 3 more surgeries today. My patients needed steady hands, not trembling anger. But as I scrubbed in, memories flooded back. 2 years ago, when I started my surgical residency at Mass General, my family had seemed like the perfect solution for maintaining my beach house. "We'll take care of everything," Mom had promised. "You focus on your career. That's what matters." What she'd meant, apparently, was that they'd take care of claiming my property as their own. 16 hours later, I finally had time to really look at the evidence. My cousin's social media was filled with before and after renovation photos. My parents' Facebook showed them gifting the house to Olivia and her husband, Jake, as a blessing for their 5th anniversary. The final straw was the legal document someone sent me anonymously, transfer of deed paperwork waiting to be filed. They'd forged my signature. "You look like you're planning a murder," my fellow resident, Dr. Sarah Martinez, said as she dropped into the chair beside me. "Close. Just discovered my family's trying to steal my beach house." She whistled low. "The Malibu one? Worth millions?" "Yeah. They're renovating it, claiming it as theirs. Even forged documents." "What are you going to do?" I pulled up my calendar. I finished residency last week. Was going to surprise them by coming home. I smiled grimly. Think I'll still surprise them, just not the way they expected. Sarah's eyes gleamed. "Need backup?" Actually, an idea formed. "Know any good real estate lawyers?" The next 48 hours were a blur of preparation. My lawyer, David Klein, moved fast once I showed him the evidence. By the time my flight landed in LA, everything was in place. I drove straight to the beach house, my heart pounding as I turned onto the familiar street. The ocean view still took my breath away, just like it had when I first bought the place. New landscaping decorated the front yard, courtesy of my family's unauthorized renovations. 3 cars sat in the driveway: my parents' Mercedes, Olivia's Range Rover, and a contractor's van. Perfect. I adjusted my white coat and hospital ID badge. A theatrical touch, but one I hoped would make a point. Then I rang my own doorbell. Mom opened the door, her smile freezing when she saw me. "Alexandra?" "What? What are you doing here?" Surprise. I stepped past her into my house. Residency's over. I came home. The interior had been completely transformed. My carefully chosen coastal decor replaced by Olivia's modern farmhouse aesthetic. Construction dust covered everything, and the smell of fresh paint filled the air. We weren't expecting you," Mom stammered. Clearly. I moved toward the kitchen where I heard voices. "Since you were busy giving away my house." Olivia stood in my gutted kitchen, discussing fixtures with a contractor. She turned, saw me, and dropped her design portfolio. Alex. Hi, cuz. I smiled coldly. Love what you've done with my property. Though you really should have asked the actual owner before demolition. We, your parents said what? That they had the right to give away my $2.8 million house. That forging my signature on transfer documents was legal. The contractor looked between us uneasily. Is there a problem here? No problem, I said smoothly. Just a family discovering that theft and fraud have consequences. You might want to pack up, though. All work stops now. You can't do that, Olivia protested. We've already spent my money on my house without my permission? I pulled out my phone and showed her the bank transfers I'd tracked. You mean the money you somehow withdrew from my accounts using forged authorization? Mom stepped forward. Sweetheart, we can explain. Explain the theft, the fraud, the Instagram posts claiming my property as your gift. We were going to tell you. When? After the deed transfer? After you'd completely stolen my house. I turned as Dad appeared from the back door. Perfect timing. The whole family's here. Alex, please, Dad started. We thought that I wouldn't notice, that I'd be too busy saving lives to realize you were stealing mine. I pulled out the documents David had prepared. Here's what happens now. I laid out 3 sets of papers. Option 1. You all leave now. Return every penny you stole. Pay for restoring my house to its original state. Sign agreements admitting the fraud and promising to stay away. I don't press charges. Charges? Olivia whispered. Option 2. I call the police. Show them the forged documents, the bank transfers, the social media evidence of your theft. You all face fraud charges. I still get my house back, but you get criminal records. You wouldn't, Mom gasped. We're family. Family doesn't steal from family. Family doesn't forge signatures and throw away 2 years of someone's hard work and dreams. I pointed to the papers. Choose. This is ridiculous, Olivia's husband Jake spoke up. We were told this was a gift. We've invested everything in property you knew wasn't yours. I pulled up his text messages to the contractor, obtained legally through my lawyer. You literally wrote, "Need to finish before she finds out." You knew exactly what you were doing. The room fell silent except for the sound of waves through the open windows. The same waves that had made me fall in love with this house, that had helped me imagine peaceful days after long hospital shifts. 5 minutes to decide, I said quietly, before I call the police. Dad moved first, reaching for the option 1 papers. We'll sign. John, Mom protested. It's over, Marie. We were wrong. He looked at me with something like shame. I'm sorry, sweetheart. We wanted to help Olivia and Jake. They needed a fresh start. So you stole from me? Instead of asking? Instead of being honest? Olivia started crying as Jake signed the papers. Mom held out longest, but finally added her signature when I reached for my phone to dial. You have 24 hours to clear out, I informed them. Any damage, anything missing, and the deal's off. I called the police. Where are we supposed to go? Olivia sobbed. Not my problem. Should have thought about that before demolishing my kitchen. They filed out slowly, the weight of consequences finally settling on their shoulders. Mom paused at the door. We really did think we were helping. No, I cut her off. You thought I was too busy to notice, too dedicated to my patients to protect myself. You thought wrong. After they left, I walked through my changed house. Every altered room, every demolished wall, felt like a betrayal. But under the renovations, the bones of my dream home remained. Sarah appeared in the doorway, my backup plan if things had gone badly. Need help restoring it? Yeah, I touched a wall where my favorite painting used to hang. Might take a while. Good thing you've got time now. And better security cameras. I smiled slightly. And better boundaries with family. My phone buzzed. Olivia deleting her Instagram posts about her beach house. The first step in erasing their attempted theft. Outside, waves crashed against the shore, my house, my boundaries. Time to rebuild, not just the house, but my life without toxic family in it. The next morning, I woke up on Sarah's couch to 17 missed calls and 43 text messages from various family members. I ignored them all and drove to my beach house, armed with coffee and determination. My family had cleared out overnight as required, but they'd left their mark. Empty spots on walls where they'd taken artwork that wasn't theirs. Missing expensive appliances. And most telling, a spiteful message scratched into my master bedroom door. Ungrateful bitch. Documented everything, Sarah said, lowering her phone after taking photos. Your lawyer wants to know if you want to invoke the police clause of the agreement. I traced the scratched message. Not yet. Let's see what they've actually taken first. The inventory was enlightening. Besides the obvious missing items, artwork, appliances, furniture, they'd also taken things of purely sentimental value. My grandfather's antique telescope, photo albums from my medical school graduation, even the hand-carved box where I kept my parents' old love letters, which I had saved despite their divorce years ago. They're trying to hurt you, Sarah observed, watching me discover each new loss. They succeeded. I picked up a broken frame containing my first medical license, but not the way they think. My phone buzzed with a text from Mom. We took only what was rightfully ours, what we deserved for maintaining your house while you abandoned us for your career. Maintaining? Sarah scoffed, reading over my shoulder. They were literally demolishing it. Before I could respond, a new message appeared from my Aunt Susan, Olivia's mother. How dare you make my daughter homeless after all we've done for you? I blocked them both and called my lawyer. They violated the agreement. David confirmed after seeing the photos. Want me to proceed with legal action? Not yet. I had a different idea. Can you find out where they're storing the stolen items? It took David's investigator less than a day to locate my family's hastily rented storage unit. The security camera footage showed them moving everything in at 3 a.m. They used Olivia's credit card, the investigator reported. Amateur move. Armed with this information, I did something my family wouldn't expect. I went to work. The local hospital had been eager to hire me after my prestigious residency. By 9 a.m., I was in surgery, doing what I trained all those years to do. By 6 p.m., I'd saved 2 lives and was ready for phase 2. Storage facility closes at 8. Sarah reminded me as we drove there. You sure about this? They want to play dirty. I held up the court order David had obtained. Let's play. The storage facility manager was cooperative, especially faced with both a court order and my hospital ID. Unit 247, he confirmed. Rented yesterday by Olivia Bennett. We found everything there, haphazardly piled like the stolen goods they were. My grandfather's telescope, my photos, my furniture, all tossed aside in their spite. Police are here, Sarah called from outside. And, oh boy, you've got company. I emerged to find Olivia, Jake, and my parents rushing across the parking lot. "You can't do this," Olivia screamed. "That's our stuff." "Really?" I held up my grandfather's telescope. "Funny, because I have the original bill of sale and about 100 photos of it in my house before you decided to steal it." "We were storing it for you," Mom tried. "In a secret storage unit? After being legally required to return everything." I nodded to the police officers. Everything in that unit was documented as part of my house inventory before I left for residency. They took it after signing a legal agreement not to. "This is what you want?" Dad demanded. "To humiliate your family?" "Family?" I laughed bitterly. "You forged my signature, tried to steal my house, took my belongings. What exactly about that is family?" The police began cataloging items while my relatives watched, seething. Each piece documented, photographed, noted as stolen property. "You'll regret this," Jake muttered. I turned to him slowly. Was that a threat? Should I add witness intimidation to the police report? He backed down, but Olivia wasn't finished. "We put our savings into renovating that house. We're ruined." "You put your savings into stealing my property," I corrected. "That's not my problem." "You're just like your father," Mom spat. "Cold, career obsessed, no care for family." "Interesting." I picked up the box of their love letters. "Is that why you tried to steal these? To erase the evidence that you used to be different? Used to actually love people instead of just using them?" She flinched as I opened the box, revealing hundreds of letters. "Where was this cold, career-obsessed man when he wrote you poetry? When he promised to love you forever? When he supported your dreams?" "People change," she whispered. "Yes, they do. You both taught me that very clearly." The police finished their inventory. Everything would be returned to my house tomorrow under supervision. My family stood watching, their revenge scheme falling apart. "What happens now?" Dad asked quietly. "Now, you all stay away from me. Forever." I handed him a stack of papers. "These are restraining orders. Break them, and I press criminal charges for the fraud and theft." "You do that to your own blood?" Olivia demanded. "You did this. All of it. You could have asked for help, been honest about needing money. Instead, you chose to steal, lie, and forge documents." Sarah appeared with the last box of my belongings. "Cars loaded with the valuable stuff. Movers will handle the furniture tomorrow." Mom took a step toward me. "Alex, please. We can fix this." "No, we can't. Because you're not sorry you did it. You're sorry you got caught." I turned to leave, then paused. "Oh, and Olivia? Next time you renovate someone's house, make sure you actually own it first." The drive home was quiet. Sarah helped me unpack the rescued items, carefully placing my grandfather's telescope back in its spot by the ocean view window. "Think they'll respect the restraining orders?" she asked. "They will if they're smart." I picked up my medical license, now in a new frame. "They know I'll follow through." "Must be hard," she observed. "Cutting off family." They cut themselves off when they decided their greed was more important than our relationship. My phone buzzed with a message from David. "Police report filed. Restraining orders served. Need anything else?" I looked around my violated home, the demolished kitchen, the half-finished renovations, the empty spaces where my life had been. "Ask your contractor friend to come tomorrow," I replied. "Time to rebuild. My way." Sarah raised an eyebrow. "What are you thinking?" "I'm thinking," I smiled slowly, "that it's time to create something they can see but never touch." a reminder of what their greed cost them. Over the next 6 months, I transformed the house. Every change they'd made, I made better. Every room they destroyed, I restored with upgrades. The kitchen they demolished became a chef's dream. The walls they'd torn down rose again with smart home technology. I posted nothing on social media, made no announcements. But in our small beach community, word spread. And from a distance, blocked by restraining orders and their own choices, my family watched as I created the home they tried to steal. A monument to consequences, rising above the waves they'd never again hear from my private beach. Sometimes karma doesn't just happen. Sometimes you build it yourself, one renovated room at a time. 1 year later, I stood in my fully restored kitchen, sipping coffee and watching the sunrise over the ocean. The house had become everything I dreamed of during those long residency nights. And more importantly, it was unquestionably, securely mine. The doorbell rang. Through the security camera, I saw a familiar but unexpected face, my younger sister Emma, who had been studying abroad during the whole house-stealing debacle. I hesitated before opening the door. She hadn't taken part in the theft, but she hadn't spoken up against it either. "Hey," she said softly, "can we talk?" I let her in, watching as she took in the transformed space. The kitchen gleamed with professional-grade appliances. The great room's floor-to-ceiling windows framed the ocean view perfectly. Everything spoke of success and security. "It's beautiful," she said, different from what Olivia was doing. "That's because I actually have taste. And legal ownership." She winced. "I heard about everything. I'm sorry I didn't say anything when they told me their plans." "You knew?" I kept my voice level, but my hand tightened on my coffee cup. "They said you had agreed, that you were too busy with residency to handle the house. So you were giving it to Olivia." She sat at the kitchen island. "I should have called you directly." "Yes, you should have." "Mom and Dad are divorcing again," she said abruptly. The stress of the restraining orders, the public humiliation, it broke them. They broke themselves, I corrected. Their choices, their consequences. Olivia and Jake filed for bankruptcy last month. The money they put into renovations, the legal fees. "Emma," I cut her off, "are you here to make me feel guilty? Because it won't work." "No." She looked up, tears in her eyes. "I'm here because I'm selling the story." That caught me off guard. "What?" "A producer contacted me. They want to make a documentary about what happened, about family betrayal and justice." She pulled out a contract. "They're offering 6 figures. I laughed incredulously. "You came to warn me." "I came to ask if you want to tell your side. The whole story from your perspective. No one knows what really happened during your residency, why you bought this place." I walked to the telescope, still in its place by the window. "You know why?" "Grandfather." "Yeah." She joined me. "His dream of having a doctor in the family. His belief in you when everyone else said you should settle for less. The telescope had been his prized possession. He taught me about stars through it, about setting your sights on distant dreams and never letting go." "The producer wants to start filming next month," Emma continued. "Mom and Dad don't know yet. Neither does Olivia." I studied my sister's face. "Why tell me first?" "Because you're the hero of the story, the one who worked honestly, achieved their dreams, and stood up to family betrayal." She smiled slightly. "Also, you're the only one without a restraining order preventing interviews on your property." That made me laugh genuinely. "Karma's a beach, isn't it?" "So." She held up the contract. Want to tell your story? I thought about it. About all those nights studying while others partied. About working 3 jobs to get through med school. About inheriting grandfather's money and investing it wisely instead of spending it frivolously. On one condition, I said finally. We tell his story too. Grandfather's. The man who taught us all about integrity, but only some of us listened. Emma's eyes lit up. The producer will love that angle. And we filmed the final scene here, I added, in the house they tried to steal, surrounded by the success they can't touch. 2 months later, I stood in my kitchen again, but this time facing cameras. The documentary crew captured every detail, the renovations, the legal documents, the security footage of my family's midnight theft. Do you regret? The interviewer asked. Cutting off your family? They're not my family anymore, I replied, touching grandfather's telescope. Family supports your dreams. Family celebrates your success. Family doesn't forge documents and steal your home. And the restraining orders are permanent reminders that actions have consequences, that you can't take what isn't yours just because you want it. The final scene was filmed at sunset. Me on my private beach, in my white coat, heading to another hospital shift. Behind me, the house rose against the orange sky, windows gleaming. Your family can see this view, the interviewer noted, from the public beach. Yes, I smiled. They can see it. But they can never touch it again. Sometimes the best revenge is living well, in the home someone tried to steal. Emma watched the final edit with me, both of us on my oceanfront deck. It's powerful, she said. Raw and real. Think they'll watch it. Oh, they'll watch. And they'll rage. But they can't do anything about it. I raised my glass. To grandfather, who taught us that stars are worth reaching for, but only if you reach honestly. To consequences, Emma added, and to the sister brave enough to enforce them. Below us, waves crashed against the shore, the same waves that had drawn me here, that had made this house my dream, the dream I'd protected, despite everything. Sometimes family isn't who you're born to. Sometimes it's who stands with you when others try to take what's yours. And sometimes the best family reunion is the one that never happens, because some betrayals leave marks deeper than ocean tides. But those marks become strength if you let them. And that strength becomes a home no one can steal. The documentary aired 6 months later, becoming an overnight sensation. House of Lies. A family's betrayal trended on social media, with millions sharing their own stories of family fraud and betrayal. I wasn't prepared for the aftermath. First came the letter from Olivia's attorney, threatening to sue for defamation. My response was simple: copies of her own social media posts bragging about stealing my house, the forged documents, and the storage unit footage. The threat disappeared. Then came Mom's tearful interview with a local news station playing the victim. My daughter chose a house over family, she sobbed on camera. The interviewer failed to mention the fraud, the theft, or the restraining orders. I was reviewing the interview footage in my home office when Emma rushed in. You need to see this, she said, pulling up a real estate listing on her phone. They're selling grandfather's old house. I stared at the listing. The Victorian mansion where we'd grown up, where grandfather had first shown me the stars through his telescope. The house Dad had inherited but never lived in, keeping it as a rental property instead. They're selling it to cover their debts, Emma explained. But look at the price. They'd listed it at half its value, desperate for a quick sale. I picked up my phone and called my financial advisor. 3 days later, I sat in David's office, signing the purchase papers. The seller's section listed a blind trust as the buyer. My family would never know who purchased their last valuable asset. Poetic justice, David remarked as I signed. You end up with both houses. Not both, I corrected. Emma? My sister stepped forward, and I handed her a second set of papers. You're giving me grandfather's house, she whispered. You were the only one besides me who really loved it, I said. The only one who helped clean his telescope collection, who listened to his stories about constellations. Emma's hands trembled as she signed the transfer documents. There's one condition, I added. The observatory room stays exactly as he left it. Deal, she hugged me fiercely. They're going to lose it when they find out. They're not going to find out. Not yet. We kept the purchase quiet until the day of closing. Mom and Dad arrived at the house for the final walkthrough, expecting to meet their buyer's agent. Instead, they found Emma and me in the observatory room, grandfather's telescope collection gleaming in the morning light. What are you doing here? Dad demanded. Claiming our inheritance, I replied calmly. The right way, through legal purchase. Mom's face went pale. You bought it? Actually, Emma stepped forward. I did, with Alex's help. The house belongs to me now. You can't. Can't what? I interrupted. Can't buy property legally. Can't protect our grandfather's legacy. Can't stop you from selling his dream for pennies on the dollar. We needed the money, Dad protested. After what you did. After what I did. I laughed. You mean after what you did? The fraud, the theft, the public humiliation when you got caught? Get out, Emma said quietly. This is my house now, and you're trespassing. They left, but not before Mom turned back one last time. You'll regret this, both of you. No, I replied. We'll honor it. Honor him, which is more than you ever did. That evening, Emma and I sat in the observatory, sharing a bottle of grandfather's favorite whiskey we found hidden behind his star charts. Think we did the right thing? She asked. I looked around the room where I'd first dreamed of becoming a doctor, where grandfather had taught us about reaching for the stars and keeping our integrity intact. Yes, I said. We protected what matters. His legacy, his lessons, his love of the stars. To grandfather, Emma raised her glass. Who taught us that some things are worth more than money? To karma, I added. Who taught our family that some lessons come at a very high price? Outside, stars began appearing in the darkening sky. Through grandfather's telescope, they seemed close enough to touch, just like he'd always told us they were. Some dreams, it turns out, are worth fighting for. Some legacies are worth protecting. And some family bonds, like starlight, survive long after the source is gone, while others fade into deserved darkness.